Hello, we've got a big show coming up on the House of Wellness today. We're talking Velcro babies.
Yeah.
We'll explain what that means later on in the show.
And you know, we learn about loving the skin we're in with Bianca Chatfield.
And we'll continue the conversation on women's mental health. So, let's get on with it. Also today, the highs and lows of a woman's libido.
So I think folding the laundry is foreplay.
Spring allergies are in the air, but we'll relieve the misery for you.
And we learn why you need to love yourself from the inside out.
We want to take the focus off the superficial, which we always say, oh, she's so pretty.
So join us on the show for everyone who wants to live life to the full.
It's very simple to get it right.
Let's all get well, stay well, live well and look fabulous right here in the House of Wellness. Hello everybody, welcome to the hour dedicated to your health and well-being. Hello Gerald, hello Joe, hello Zoe.
Hello, everybody, and hello out there to you. You know, I am fascinated by this Velcro baby story today.
Yeah.
It's a big problem for some mums. You know, they can't leave their child for a second without the crying starting for both parties.
Yeah, got to be distressing for both mum and bub and dads too, and we'll have some help later on in the show. Also coming up later with the A to Z of vitamins, our pharmacist extraordinaire, Gerald Quigley.
Morning, everyone. Look, I don't know about pharmacist extraordinaire, Ed, but if it comes to indigestion and bloating, I'm blowing in the wind. I'm your man.
Ooh, ooh, not even sure what
Thank you,
that
Gerald.
means.
Now, we're switching from indigestion with our pharmacist extraordinaire to passion. Before we begin, I wanted to remind you all about an earlier story from Caroline Pemberton, who met up with, well, let's say a mystery couple who shared their thoughts on how they keep the spark alive.
So more communication, more listening, and
Yes.
just time together.
And lots of romance.
Yes, yes. I think lots of sex is good.
Gerald.
I mean, you have to keep the spark alive, right?
Well, or bushfire in Phillips' case. Yes.
Gerald.
I mean, the face was familiar, the voice, I don't know.
The voice was familiar too.
Did we not have some trouble as a repercussion of that airing?
I actually know that couple,
Yeah, that's right.
and the wife in that relationship was not happy.
Oh, yeah. Keep it to yourself. I mean, not to you, to that couple.
To that couple, yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
I can't watch that. However, here to expand on keeping the spark alive, Joe Stanley joins us. Hi, Joe.
Yes, hello. You know, it is great to see that the passion is still alive for some
Don't point at him.
mystery couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
But every relationship and every person is different, of course, and sometimes you need a little bit of help to keep that passion going, don't you think?
Joe, what about food, though? What role does it play? You know, oysters have that well-known reputation for keeping the spark, the romance up in a relationship.
Well, yeah, they might work for men, but trust me, oysters on the breath ain't gonna get you excited for the ladies.
No,
You know,
it's not my cup of tea either.
no, exactly. Brush your teeth, boys. You know, a woman's libido is a very complex thing, Joe, and often we don't understand it ourselves.
It's true, there's so much that can affect a woman's libido. But keeping the spark alive, I think, takes so much more than just one or two romantic nights here and there, even if your partner is Gerald Quigley. If you go by what we read in magazines or social media, having a healthy libido is some mystical thing that only happens on a full moon in the sexiest of lingerie and it only ever happens between two of the hottest bodies around. When I actually think that having a healthy sex drive is all about the connection between you and your partner. It's very simple to get it right. Sex drive is often seen as a measure of one's life force. It's our mojo. And whilst most blokes don't have too much trouble getting aroused, women can be a little more demanding. In fact, a recent study of students at Ohio State confirmed young men thought about sex 19 times a day, while women pondered it only half as often. And women's magazine Jezebel reports that as we age, the gap between men's and women's carnal ruminations doubles. So ladies, what is the recipe for a healthy libido? Well, it's not unlike a chicken dinner for two. You need to know what flavours excite you and where to look to turn up the heat. If you're at a bit of a loss as to what to do and what not to do, just look around your home. I'll give you a hint. The 2016 census revealed a whopping 1 in 4 Aussie men do little to no housework. Now, you can do all sorts of things to get hot and heavy in the bedroom. Candles, music, lingerie. But research shows that couples who share the workload around the home have a healthier sex life. So I think folding the laundry is foreplay. You see, the old saying is true. Our most important erogenous zone is our brain. We're sex slaves to our sex hormones, testosterone in men and estrogen in women. So can aphrodisiac foods manipulate those hormone levels and bring on that avalanche of lust the advertising gurus promise us? Well, I've caught up with our resident sexologist, Nikki Goldstein, for a few insights.
So when we have a look at things like chocolate, chocolate is a great mood elevator. So if you're feeling happier, you're going to be feeling more like you're in the mood. We have a look at things like watermelon. Watermelon is really good for blood flow. When we look at strawberries are high in vitamin C. Salmon is really good because it helps you produce things like testosterone and estrogen. Our oysters, these are stereotypically the one that everybody thinks of. It's great to be producing those sex hormones. But the question is always, how much of this food do you have to eat to be able to see any of the results? So there's some scientific evidence in it, but I think when we look at life these days, these foods aren't going to be the last stop to increasing your libido.
So if natural aphrodisiacs aren't really the answer, is there a magic formula for a healthy libido?
We are a society that is run by technology. We have more things that are asked of us these days. But is a lot of that taking away from that connection we have with our partner? And that's what we need to keep in the front of our minds. Have we kissed them when we walked through the door? Have we said thank you? Those things that just make somebody feel like they're appreciated and wanted. Everybody wants to feel wanted and needed. Are you showing your partner enough attention that they feel wanted and needed? Or are you angry and grumpy and distracted? So when you do get into bed, that connection's not necessarily there.
A 2010 study revealed that as a woman's fertility decreases in her 30s and 40s, her libido naturally increases. So what can we do to ride that wave of hormonal desire? May I suggest Latin dancing?
Partner dancing is so much fun, so you get to do all the, nice stuff without necessarily anything else involved.
Oh, I like that, isn't it? Because it makes you feel really good without it needing to be too serious.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, when a guy's in control and they know what they're doing, things can get hot.
I love it.
Okay, that's cheating.
Yes, absolutely. Having not done something like that before, I really didn't know what to expect. But now I can see the appeal in doing a salsa class because it's very safe and respectful in a really old-fashioned, romantic kind of way. It's very sensual. Between that and a roast chook, I'm in for a very good night.
Gosh, such a great story, Jo.
It's so important.
You have the magic remedy there. I want to call it chore play.
Chore play,
where
nice.
you do so many chores, men, around the house that we find you irresistible.
Well, the thing is, it comes down to feeling like you're a team and that you're equals. I don't want to feel like I'm some kind of slave around the house. I don't feel particularly attractive or beautiful or sexy after I've spent an entire day cleaning up after you.
Yes.
It's
a true thing. Would you like to add to that?
I'm still not entirely convinced you're not trying to trick us into folding socks for the sex.
Just fold the socks. What does it matter?
It's a long-winded way to get the chores done, isn't
For the
it?
husbands and boyfriends watching, we're trying to understand women's libido a bit more. Is this the key, the chore play?
I think it can help. There are lots of things, though, that for women, we are complicated creatures, absolutely. You have to know what's right for you. It's really important that you stay healthy physically, that you exercise.
Well, yes, exercise. Talk to me about that, because we saw the salsa, but exercise does play a big part, doesn't it?
Well, I think for libido, for women, stress is a huge inhibitor, and when you exercise, you're keeping that endorphins flowing through your brain and into your body. You feel good, you feel physical, and it's not such a leap that you might then get a little physical with your partner.
And you know what? If you're exercising, you might want to just strip off your clothes a bit more too, because you're probably feeling better, that you look better.
Sure.
Right?
You might not want to just strip off, or you might not. Maybe that's not your
It's
thing.
the circle. Then you take them to the laundry, you wash them and fold them. Great.
We're back at chore play.
Thank you so much, Jo. Great story. If you'd like to follow that up or see any of our stories, watch the show back or reach out and contact us. Get us on our website, houseofwellness.com.au.
And ring-a-ding-ding, 1800 469 788. Well, GQ answer, I'm not sure, so call.
You really said ring-a-ding-ding.
I
well,
did.
Lickety-like us on our Facebook page as well. The House of Wellness is it. Stacks of great info there
Yes,
as well.
so much more great stuff coming up on the show today. We spring into action and learn how to treat seasonal allergies. See what I did, because it's spring and a nutritious bowl for expectant mothers. So much going on today.
Later, a vital one. We discuss the important issue of women's mental health.
But next up on House Heroes, we meet a man whose desire to help his father's hearing impairment now has him helping people all round the world. Stay with us on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. Well, our house hero today is a man who grew up watching his father struggle with hearing impairment, and that experience inspired him to invent an extraordinary device that now helps people all around the world hear for the very first time.
Yes, Professor Graeme Clark is the creator of the bionic ear. Now in his 80s, Professor Clark can look back on a life's work that, while at times controversial, has brought the gift of hearing to almost 500,000 people.
In 1978, Australian Professor Graeme Clark changed the world forever. He's the man who invented the bionic ear, bringing sound to the deaf.
There have been some great scientists here in Australia who've played their part on the international field. I am pleased, I hope, to have joined them. Nearly 500,000 people in over 100 countries have now had benefit.
The bionic ear's journey from concept to reality was difficult for Professor Clark. Not only did the world's scientific communities ridicule his research, but he was criticised for offering children the experimental procedure when many thought they should be learning sign language.
I've had many hurtful things said about me, and that's where my Christian faith was enormously helpful. Because if I had been doing it for my own glorification, I'm not sure I would have gone on.
But Professor Clark and his team overcame all the obstacles and proved the sceptics wrong when, in 1978, Rod Saunders, the first recipient of a bionic ear, recognised speech.
I did what Australian males are not meant to do. I went into the next door laboratory and I burst into tears of joy that we had done what people said could not be done.
Wasn't he amazing? Professor Clark, they're a prime example of someone who made the seemingly impossible possible to so many. What an inspirational man.
Wasn't he? Yes, an incredible man who, even in his 80s now, is still working harder than ever, determined to continue developing the bionic ear and also the bionic eye to improve the lives of so many across the world.
Great story. Now, Zoe, you know what I'm so happy about at the moment?
Many things, but what's putting the smile on your darling?
We've been suffering through winter, as we know, and we do each year. Wet, cold, miserable, it drags on, but now spring is in the air and life is good.
So good, but you wouldn't be saying that if you were allergic and had hay fever. Spring can be hell for some people. Permanently itchy eyes, skin rashes, runny nose, headaches, the list goes on and on.
A bit of a Debbie Downer, but yeah, fair point. Perhaps it doesn't have to be that bad, though. Joining us today to help us learn about how to beat seasonal allergies is Professor Connie Katelaris. Nice to have you with us, Professor Connie.
Hi, Zoe. Hi, Ed.
Spring's one of my 4 favourite seasons, you know, but this can be the season that really ramps up the sufferers, especially kind of hay fevers and so on, right? Yeah. Gosh, it's tough on people. Why is spring so prevalent and such a worry for allergies?
Well, I like spring because it gives us an opportunity to bring allergic rhinitis, allergies to the fore for people to understand a little bit more about them. It seems to be the only time the media is really interested in allergies is springtime.
But they are all year round, aren't they? So what can we actually do about it?
Well, we have to first of all recognise it. You know, people often think they're just having recurrent colds when in fact they have allergies, and that's because the symptoms are often very similar. Runny nose, sneezing, headachy, itchy throat, feeling not very good. But if this rolls around every spring for you in a recurrent fashion, the penny's got to drop that this is not a virus, this is not an infection, that perhaps you're one of the 1 in 5 people in Australia who suffer from allergic rhinitis or hay fever more commonly.
OK, so we always look at the pollen counts, don't we, with the weather reports. Why is this pollen such a culprit? What happens?
Because allergic rhinitis is caused by an allergic reaction setting up inflammation to something in the air.
Yeah.
And obviously pollen becomes airborne. And so it's one of the common, what we call aeroallergens, one of the things, the normal, ordinary substances that people with allergies can become allergic to.
So some of us have a little hay fever and some have chronic symptoms.
Yes.
What can they do? Is there medications they can take?
Yes, there's a lot you can do. We can't cure it, but we can certainly control it.
Okay.
So the thing to do is to recognise it, have it diagnosed, so that you know what your triggers are.
Like nasal sprays, do they help?
Yes, certainly. Now, there are different types of nasal sprays. So for people with allergies, they need to consider a preventative spray, like what we call the intranasal steroid sprays.
Okay.
Now, many of these are available over the counter. There are more modern ones that you can get on prescription.
Okay.
But the over-the-counter ones are quite adequate if they're used correctly. And that's the first thing, that they are preventative. So it means they need to be used every day during the season, preferably starting before the season.
It even hits, okay.
Yes, so that the inflammation doesn't build up in the nasal lining.
By the way, I mean, we're making great advances in the treatment of hay fevers, aren't we? Certainly in the last decade or so. We're getting a bit more positive and optimistic. We might be able to rub it out in time.
Well, we certainly have forms of therapy now called immunotherapy, which is a way of trying to re-educate the immune system to dampen down allergic reactions. It won't cure it, but it will dampen down the symptoms quite considerably.
Fantastic.
All righty, so spring should not need to strike fear into us in coming years. Thanks for your time, Professor. Nice to see you with us. Stay with us, plenty more to come here. We are the House of Wellness.
Coming up, we learn about the importance of self-love.
Why do you feel that you need a bigger booty for yourself?
And next, we're dishing up a dish for two, a nutrient bowl for expectant mums.
We're getting busy in the kitchen, here on the House of Wellness.
Today's meal has enough goodness in it for two. With that plant-based source of protein superfood, spirulina. Let's begin by making a spirulina guacamole with avocado, crushed garlic, lemon juice and olive oil, coriander and 1 teaspoon of spirulina powder. Then blend to a thick paste. Now for our dressing with beetroot, cashews, lemon juice, marine collagen and olive oil blended till smooth. Then onto a bed of brown rice with spinach. You assemble a collection of beautiful veggies with egg and salmon, along with a sprinkle of turmeric, toasted nuts and seeds.
Oh, that's a yummy one. Yeah, nutritious to delicious for expectant mums. That's the Nutrition Bowl with BioGland's marine collagen powder. I'm currently not expecting, but it's good for everyone.
It's a shock.
What did you think about all that, though?
Delicious.
Great. Yeah.
And did you know protein is a really important source when you're pregnant? It plays a huge role in keeping both mum and bub healthy.
Yeah.
So, you know, the marine collagen powder, it's a great way to make sure you're getting enough protein for both of you. Am I right or am I right, GQ?
As usual, Zoe, perfect. Collagen's the skin nutrient. It's a bit of a rage at the moment, but it's so good for skin.
It's all blended in there. Absolutely delicious too. Now, let's come to your calls to start off with.
Yes. Now, to start, we want to hear from Cecilia from Horsham in Victoria. What's your query?
Sometimes when I sleep, my body feels heavy, like it's a heavy sleep. Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, heavy sleep, GQ. Is that different to a deep sleep?
It probably means that it's been poor sleep. So as we think back to Dr. Mark Levi, he talks about circadian rhythms. So you go in and out of sleep. We also talked recently about the value of magnesium with some sleep-inducing herbs, passion flower, tart cherry,
Chamomile?
Well, chamomile's good to have a cup of tea before you go to bed.
Okay.
So I'm sure if that schedule was changed and nutrients like that put into the equation before bed at night, that would change completely from heavy sleep to restful sleep.
That's what we all seek, isn't it? OK, now an email from Colin from Bowen in Queensland. I've developed a blocked ear and I've just been to the doc who suggested ear drops and then to syringe it out. Wondering if that's safe. The doc's going to do the syringing. Don't do it.
Yes.
I was going to say at home, that would be... Ooh.
Not something for you to do, Colin.
No.
So the important thing here is that it's a procedure which is well practiced and very efficient. You can actually buy ear drops to soften wax from your pharmacist. So you can easily, and sometimes the doctor will say, before I do this syringing, go and get some drops to soften wax so to make it easier to wash away.
Very interesting.
Hey, we got some great advice from Professor Connie a little earlier on the show as well, with those heightened allergies now starting to ramp up into spring. It's got to be a busy time for pharmacists too across the country.
And as we heard, Ed, a lot of these products, either treatment or preventers, are available without a prescription. So we heard about some intranasal steroids. Saline that's isotonic without a preservative is important. There are tableted versions of non-drowsy antihistamines available. Ask your pharmacist.
Alrighty. And yes, we're beaming out right across Australia on the 7 Network and the Prime Network, so join us for a show packed with advice, nutrition and inspiration on living your best life.
Later, we learn how to deal with your Velcro baby.
And after the break, the pressure of social media on your body image. We find out the problem, but more importantly, we have the solution.
I would make my legs longer.
Still more to come here on the House of Wellness.
Welcome back. Well, body image is one of those phrases we hear used a lot these days, and maybe it's overused, but its importance can't be ignored.
Yeah, to emphasise that, we thought it was important to bring back a story we did earlier on in the year about body image and the continual pressure we all feel to look good.
Yeah, and Bianca Chatfield is back with us. Hello. We're looking at the research. It tells us that in Australia, approximately 28% of males and even more, 35% of females are dissatisfied with their appearance and their body image.
It's pretty unbelievable. I really thought we needed to go back and revisit this story.
Yeah.
It's pretty alarming, and we need to find out if that dissatisfaction comes from all the social media and all those selfies that you take, Ed.
Yeah.
So I went out to find out. When it comes to body image, we need to get back to what's important, having a happy and healthy frame of mind. We need to value who we are and not what we look like. But if being a professional sports person has taught me anything, it's that the happier you are in your own skin, the more successful you will be. The modern obsession with body image is deeply affecting for our children. It can lead to a low sense of self-worth, unhealthy eating habits, and in some cases, substance abuse. And no one knows this more intimately than Marissa Forsyth, founder of the Pretty Foundation, an organisation designed to empower young girls to grow up being body confident.
38% of 4-year-old girls, this is really crazy, are dissatisfied with their bodies at 4 years old. And so when I heard that stat, it just broke my heart, and I thought, we've got to do something about this. One question we ask at the Pretty Foundation is, pretty what? She's pretty inspirational, she's pretty talented, she's pretty strong, she's pretty brave. And we want to take the focus off the superficial, which we always say, oh, she's so pretty, and show people that our value as women and girls is actually in, you know, who we are as a person.
Do you have any tips for parents tackling body image issues?
Yeah, basically we want them to focus on value in the inside. So if they can find ways to avoid things that are going to be damaging, as well as what are the things that are going to be uplifting and teaching them that their value is actually in who they are, in their character, in what their bodies can achieve and what they can contribute. They're the things that we want parents to focus on.
With an amazing 75% of all Aussie teenage girls unhappy with their own bodies, eating disorders amongst young people are still on the rise. Despite these alarming statistics, women like Sophie are pushing back to break the concept of beauty norms. As a mum and blogger, she has banned the F word in her house.
I call it the FAT word, I won't even say it, and we've banned the UGLY word. ugly. They're upstairs, they won't hear me. I don't want to throw my mum under a bus here, but there is a memory that I have that's really embedded into my memory of my mum telling me that, oh, I'm so fat, this is what I weigh. And I was a young girl, and I remember when I sort of reached teenage years, I hit that weight and then I actually got bigger. And it was just because I had a different body type to her. But I instantly thought, well, now I'm fat because my mum didn't want to weigh this, and now I weigh more than that. And so I did go through this little period of, oh my God, I'm fat, and I was a beanpole.
A huge part of the body image problem stems from people's unrealistic relationships with celebrity culture. Personal trainer Lawrence Templar works at the coalface of the body image obsession.
I've worked here for about 8 years now, and along those times I've had a lot of stories. A lot of people come in saying, you know, they may want a bigger booty, bigger arms, a bigger chest, anything along those lines. When you sit down and talk to them, the first thing you ask them is why.
Yeah.
You know, why do you want a bigger booty? Why do you feel that you need a bigger booty for yourself? And a lot of the time, people don't really know.
So what are some of your tips for feeling happy and healthy and just feeling great about yourself?
So, biggest tip I can give someone is having a goal. One of the best things you can do for self-image or negative self-image is exercise. You know, it's been proven that exercise will release endorphins, make you happier, which therefore will increase motivation. Once you've got motivation, all you do is really create a habit.
So Lawrence obviously had a really balanced approach to body image working with his clients, but I still think it's a big issue amongst adults. So how are we going to combat this huge problem? If you could change one part of your body, what would you change?
I don't think I'd change anything. I like my body. Yes, I probably would like it to be a bit smaller like it used to be, but I embrace my voluptuousness.
Well, we've seen this story before. It was so important we took another look at it. And, guys, we all gasped at the start of it when we heard the stats that kids as young as 4 are body conscious.
Yes, isn't it? It's shocking to hear that. And I think what I learnt the most was that it's about the language and how we speak to young people, because 4-year-olds aren't on social media. But I think, you know, whether you're a mum, whether you're an auntie, whatever you are, if you're talking about being fat or you're talking about not liking your body, that subconsciously goes to your child. And they listen to it and they hear it and they worry about it.
So social media is definitely having an impact, especially with that celebrity culture. We are comparing ourselves, just like that trainer said. Should we be just take it? It's so hard. Should we just take ourselves off social media? How do we balance that?
Well, I think it's just having a realistic view about what it is, and mostly it's people's highlights reel, isn't it? It's all the great things. Yeah, and I think it's just more educating people around that. Use it for what it is, but don't get obsessed by it or don't feel like you need to look like that. So it's all about our language and how we talk to each other.
Let me ask about your career as a professional netballer. I mean, you have athletic, high-functioning bodies as a result of all that training. Is that a good thing, or what's the locker room feel with the girls? Is there body consciousness issues there too?
Well, I remember the first time that I was put in a weights room and told to lift heavy weights, and instantly all the girls just kept saying, we don't want to have big shoulders, we don't want to look like men. And it took me a long time to get my head around, actually, that's going to make you perform better as an athlete, and it's okay. And now I just love feeling strong. And I think that's the language you need to use, about healthy and being strong, and not all this talk of being skinny.
Yeah, great story, and you're pretty strong.
Oh, thanks, Ed, thanks.
Nice to have you back
Good
with
one,
us.
Ed.
All righty. Now, becoming a parent, Zoe, can be one of the most amazing experiences of your life. Early childhood is filled with loving memories, but as all parents know, those years come with unique challenges.
Yeah, and one of those challenges can be coping with a clingy baby. You find you can't leave the room without your baby screaming, let alone have someone else holding them. And it's called having a Velcro baby.
A Velcro baby.
And it's upsetting for both mum and bub.
Yeah, of course it is. Now, if you've got a Velcro baby, take heart. It's not your fault. Joining us today to explain and help you overcome your baby's separation anxiety is baby care author and mummy expert Pinky McKay. Nice to have you back, Pinky.
Hi. Hey, Pinky.
So, if these poor mums are finding it so hard, how do the dads feel too when the baby won't kind of come to them? And
often the baby feels quite left out. It was
Yeah.
actually our fourth baby, so my husband wasn't actually offended, who was,
Oh,
you know, 6 weeks old. She would cry when he held her and stop when she came back. And we just joked because people would go, oh, you've spoilt, you know, and we go, yeah, she's our spoilt one. Because if you kind of get in first, because some babies are just more sensitive.
Yeah.
Dr. Williams says, the paediatrician, talks about it being actually quite a healthy thing because that baby's formed really deep attachments to you, and that's the foundation for intimacy and relationships later on. So, you know, some babies are like this from the beginning. Other babies, it's very normal for all babies around about the 6-month mark. You know, neurologically, they're starting to perceive distance, so mummy or daddy walk away, you know, and they get upset.
A little bit of separation
They yell a bit,
anxiety.
but other babies actually do get quite strong separation anxiety at various stages of development.
So if you've had a clingy baby, it's difficult. It can be very challenging on a mum that is underslept. What can you do to, I guess, give yourself some space but also not cause any trauma for either one?
That's right. Well, if someone else is looking after the baby, maybe they, you know, if you need to go out for a little while or you need to have a sleep and someone else is minding the baby, they could wrap that baby in something like your T-shirt that you've slept in or your dressing gown, something that's got your smell, just so that they feel comforted. It's
While
not
you're
quite
not
a
right
mummy
there.
substitute, but it's, yeah, and with an older baby, it's better for, you know, dad or grandma or anyone else. I mean, it's not always dad that they reject. It might be someone, you know, dad and mum might be quite fine and it might be someone else. You know, just my daughter, but she ended up being the kid that hung her bag on the wall at kindy and said, go now. And I went, huh?
You had the separation anxiety.
I had the separation anxiety. I'm saying, I think I have to stay today. But, you know, if someone's taking your baby out, if they take the baby out rather than you drop the baby off, if they can take the baby, and just little separations at a time, you know, just walk around the garden and come back. And always have those rituals, you know, the hello and goodbye rituals, and be honest with your child.
honestly, bless my firstborn, he had terrible separation anxiety, and dropping him off at little kindy or daycare, I think it was, in the arms of his teacher, but with the hand on the glass, just like a...
Don't!
Just for a final touch.
Heart's breaking!
And it's hard for the parents. It's
hard.
such an emotional thing to separate.
Yes, yeah.
We went...
It's like in umbilical cords stretching, isn't it?
You did mention at the 6-month mark things are developing and changing, but throughout a child's life, you know, they're going to school, at a toddler age, there's so many different stages of separation. Are there keys that we can put in place that is going to give more support to this?
Well, if you're going, for instance, to start your child at daycare, you know, have about a month of orientation where you go with them. You're there, you're playing.
Too soon. You just chucked him in.
They get, you know, it doesn't need to be a whole month of you staying there, but, you know, gradual, depending on the age of the child too. I mean, at 2 or 3, they might be easier to leave. You know, you take them there and play them and get used to the space, because even we might find it a little bit difficult going into a new space, depending on what sort of adult you are. I mean, I probably wouldn't give a damn, but, you know, there would be people who would feel quite uncomfortable.
All right, great tips, Pinky. Thank you as always. Nice to have you back here with us. Now, while having a Velcro baby is not ideal, having Velcro viewers is just brilliant.
We love it.
So stick with us, and you can do so every Sunday morning via the House of Wellness radio edition right across the country, Zoe.
Yes, so much great information for everyone, so make sure you've got your listening ears on.
Your listening ears. And don't go anywhere, we've still got plenty more to come right here on the House of Wellness. Later, if you're feeling bloated and lethargic, the A to Z of vitamins may have the pickup you need.
Next, we learn about the mental health of Australian women and how it can affect you.
We'll be back right after the break here on the House of Wellness.
Welcome back. As you know, we work hard on raising awareness of women's mental health here on the House of Wellness.
It's so important. We're women. We want to be mentally well. But recently, a story that I did on the issue really hit home for me because I'm also a mother of a little girl.
Yes.
So the subject sits really heavy in my heart. And studies suggest more than half of Australian women suffer from anxiety and depression, with many not feeling comfortable discussing their issues, not even with their doctors.
Yeah, this is sad. So to find out what can be done if you or someone you know is suffering from mental health issues, listen up, because we are joined today by Dr. Fiona Martin. Hello.
Hi.
So this is astounding.
It is
Australian
astounding.
women don't even feel comfortable talking to their GP, their doctor, family and friends.
Yeah, it's very concerning that the statistics are that half of Australian women suffer from anxiety and depression, and that 67% reported that they feel on edge and you know, uncomfortable every single day or most days of the month.
And it's really concerning because they are the caregivers, generally speaking, in their households. So there's a whole community of people that are affected by that. Why are they not feeling like they can go and speak to someone?
Well, we know that a lot of women are engaged in, you know, paid work, but the bulk of the domestic chores at home and the caregiving are also done by women. And I guess that they're overwhelmed by what's in front of them, what they have to get through, and so they're putting other people, family members, before themselves. And also just finding it difficult, the stigma of mental health, talking about your issues and talking about, you know, the difficulties that you have in your relationships or, you know,
It's hard to recognise this, isn't it, in ourselves sometimes and also the ones that we love. What should we be looking for in ourselves or family and friends that are suffering?
Yeah, well, I'll say this, that all women across the lifespan are vulnerable to stress, anxiety and depression, and no one is immune.
Okay.
Not one of us. And, you know, there are lots of different causes, of course. You know, there's psychological, social and you know, biological causes as well for stress, anxiety and depression. But there are certain groups, I think, that are very vulnerable, and those groups include young people, that you know, young women, that Instagram generation.
Yes.
That vulnerability to
compare.
Yeah, that's right. You know, that idealistic, you know, body image, that they're looking at these images and they're not at all
achievable.
They're false. They're false.
Yeah,
but they're
exactly.
apt and they're distorted and
yeah, very much so. Young mothers that transition into parenthood and that adjustment period, it's very difficult to adjust to, and we know that 1 in 5 women suffer from perinatal anxiety and depression. And also what we call sandwich mums, the sandwich generation of mothers who are, they're the mums that are working, they're looking after their teenage children, but they're also looking after their parents as well. So they're sandwiched.
I've not even heard of that. That makes so much sense.
It's so much pressure on that generation of women.
Yeah.
And have you found too that I think women are just more prone to feel like they need to be perfect all the time?
Absolutely. And you know, that sense of, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good enough parent, or I'm not doing, you know, I'm not earning enough, not doing enough. And yeah, definitely that feeling of perfection is definitely problematic and feeds anxiety. Yeah.
So what can we do
to
assist ourselves when we're stressed and then when it shifts into perhaps more serious issues?
Yeah, so understanding the differences between stress, anxiety and depression is really important. Okay. That's what we call psychoeducation, so understanding how it all works. Stress is short term, it's not long term, and it's our body's response to a trigger or a threat.
Okay.
It can be positive and it can be negative. So the positive stress is obviously, you know, helps you meet a deadline at work or, you know, win a race. Negative stress interferes with sleep, for example, and that's not helpful. And you know, stress can cause havoc on our mind and body if we don't get it reduced, you know, before it can turn into something more serious like anxiety or depression. Anxiety is more, you know, longer term, and it is characterised by excessive worrying. So it's that constant, intense worry that, you know,
and it kind of becomes debilitating. So when it gets to that point, see your doctor, get some information, make a call.
That's right.
We are so lucky that we have resources in our country and free ones as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Fiona. There is so much to cover. See your doctor. You can get help. We have free resources in this country as well. We are so lucky.
Yes.
So if you feel like any of that rang true to you, make a call.
Absolutely seek help, but also go to our website. There's some really helpful pieces of information there, including a stress reduction toolkit, which includes things like meditation, how to sleep well, eating well, exercise, all those things that reduces your stress.
Yes, on the website. And we're going to be here right after the break on the House of Wellness.
Welcome back. A to Z of Vitamins time now. Nice to have you with us, Gerald, again. We've just made it through winter, and in these months, of course, we're probably all guilty of indulging in some heavier foods. It can really put a strain on our digestive system. Anything to kind of kick-start it again into spring now?
One of the things about spring, Ed, is an opportunity to renew. And one of the hardest working organs in our body is our liver. So time to support liver function and effective and efficient liver function. And we can do that with a magic word that probably is overcomplicated called a detox.
So to help with bloating, would you use a supplement like a liver detox? And would you take that before or after you eat?
It doesn't really matter about whether you're eating or not, Zoe, although eating sensibly is important. We're looking here at a formulation which is going to help the process of digestion, efficient digestion. So whether it's cruciferous vegetables or combinations where there's some milk thistle and some dandelion and globe artichoke, that's the key.
Will it help out if you're not actually even doing a detox?
Yes, it does. Yes, that's fine, because doing a detox often lasts for about 2 or 3 days. Then you think, oh, what's the point? Here's a way of just keeping things nice and efficient.
Does it help with anything else?
Your social discomfort, Ed, will be covered completely by this sort of formulation.
Social discomfort, I think I know what he means.
I think he's suggesting farting.
No, I'm not.
There's plenty of discomfort. Thank you, Gerald. Right, the A to Z of Vitamins brought to us by Go Healthy. For healthy energy and vitality, try New Zealand's #1 premium supplements, now available in Australia. Time for a few more of your calls as well.
Call time.
We have Jen standing by in the Southern Highlands in New South Wales. How can we help you out?
I have rheumatoid arthritis and need to know what diet I should follow.
Well, nutrition is medicine. How can we help her?
And Jen, it's mainly vegetables. So we're looking here at reducing acidity in the body. And if you can't work that out yourself, go and speak to a dietitian who can take you through things to maximise, foods to minimise. And it's something we often ignore, but very important.
All righty, great advice. Keep your calls coming and your emails as well. We'll address those in the coming weeks. Next week, we're going to do the impossible, everyone. We're going to show you how to exercise when it's the last thing you want to do. And we'll explain why social media can be good for your kids.
Yeah, that's 2 biggies right there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, what grabbed your attention today, Zoe?
You know what? I was really interested in what Dr. Connie was saying, because I thought getting a tickle in the throat did mean you're sick.
Yeah.
You could have hay fever. So, really interesting.
All right, great show, everybody. Don't forget, if you want to watch us again, just head to our website, houseofwellness.com.au. Loads of great info waiting for you there as well. Thanks, team.
Thank you, team.
Thanks to our friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you soon. Have a healthy and well week, everyone.
Bye.